Imagine the darkest nights of winter. The fire has burned low. Outside, the wind screams through the frozen passes of the Alps, and then you hear it. The faint jingle of bells. The creak of a door you know you locked. She has come. Her name is Perchta. And if you've been lazy, if your spinning wheel sits idle, if you dared eat anything but fish and gruel on her sacred night, she will slit your belly open and stuff you with straw and stones. For centuries, she was the terror of the Alpine winter. But before the church made her a monster, she was something else entirely. She was a goddess. Stay with me, because her story reveals how we turned the divine feminine into the demonic, and why people in Austria still fear her name today. Perchta, also known as Perchta, Bertha, or simply the Bright One, was once worshipped across the Alpine regions of Central Europe. Her domain stretched from Bavaria through Austria into Switzerland and Slovenia. Her name likely derives from the old High German word berat, meaning bright or shining. Some scholars connect it to Pergan, meaning hidden or covered. She was a goddess of paradox from the very beginning, radiant yet concealed, beautiful yet terrifying. Her time was the 12 nights, those liminal days stretching from Christmas to Epiphany, culminating on January 6th, which became known as Berchtentag, Perchta's Day. During this period, the veil between worlds grew thin, the dead walked. And Perchta roamed the countryside, entering homes in the dead of night. She came to judge. According to the legendary folklorist Jacob Grimm, yes, one half of the brothers Grimm, Perchta was spoken of in old High German texts as far back as the 10th century. He believed she was a white-robed goddess who oversaw spinning and weaving, protector of the domestic arts that kept families alive through brutal winters. Grimm connected her to Frau Holle, another Germanic figure of tremendous power. Both goddesses governed the turning of the year. Both demanded industry. Both rewarded the diligent and punished the slothful. But Perchta was more than a household deity. Many scholars now believe she was the original great goddess of the Alpine region, a figure of fertility, abundance, and the cycles of nature herself. Lotte Motz, the renowned folklore scholar, called her a powerful female divinity worshipped among the Germanic nations. She was also a guardian of children's souls. Those who died unbaptized, the Heimchen, were said to follow in her wake, protected by her through the spirit world. Then came Christianity. The church could not tolerate a goddess. So they did what they always did. They rewrote her story. By the medieval period, ecclesiastical documents condemned the cult of Perchta. Her followers were accused of leaving food offerings for her, a practice the church branded as devil worship. The goddess of abundance became a demoness. The protector became the punisher. Her appearance transformed too. Where once she was radiant, white-robed and beautiful, now she bore a second face. An elderly crone with a hooked nose, iron nails, and one massive foot, shaped like a swan's or goose's webbed appendage. That strange foot, Grimm suggested, marked her as a being who could shapeshift, part human, part animal, fully supernatural. It also connected her to her spinning wheel, for it was said to be a splay foot from working the treadle. Beautiful and monstrous, giver and destroyer, this duality defined the Perchta, who would haunt Alpine villages for centuries to come. Perchta's judgments were absolute, and her rules were clear. During the 12 nights, she would enter every home to inspect its inhabitants. Had the children and servants behaved well? Had they worked hard throughout the year? Most importantly, had the women finished spinning their allotted flax and wool before Epiphany? If you had been virtuous, you might wake to find a small silver coin in your shoe or pail. A blessing, a promise of good fortune. But if you had been lazy, if you had left your spinning undone, if you had eaten something other than the traditional meal of fish and gruel on Perchta's night, The punishment was unspeakable. She would slit open your belly, tear out your stomach and intestines, and fill the cavity with straw and pebbles. This wasn't metaphor. This is what parents told their children. This is what young women whispered to each other as they rushed to complete their spinning before the 12th night fell. Perchta didn't travel alone. Her entourage, the Perchten, were spirits who accompanied her through the storms. Some accounts describe them as the souls of unbaptized children, others as demons and ghosts. Later, men would dress as Perchten, wearing elaborate masks of both beauty and horror, parading through villages to drive away evil spirits. In the 16th century, two forms of Perchten emerged. The Schön Perchten, the beautiful Perchten, came to bring luck and prosperity. The Shayak Perchten, the ugly Perchten, bore fangs, tusks, and horsetails. Their purpose was to terrify, to cleanse, to remind everyone that winter's darkness held real teeth. Perchta is not alone in mythology. She belongs to a vast sisterhood of winter witches who stretch across Europe. Frau Holle of central Germany is her closest cousin, perhaps even her alternate self. Both govern spinning. Both reward the industrious and punish the lazy. Both shake out their bedding to bring the winter snow. Travel east into Slavic lands, and you'll find Baba Yaga, the terrifying crone who lives in a hut on chicken legs and devours children who fail her tests. Like Perchta, Baba Yaga embodies nature's dual capacity to nurture and destroy. She helps the worthy. She consumes the wicked. Go north to Celtic Scotland and Ireland, and the Cailleach emerges, the ancient hag of winter who shapes the mountains themselves and rules the darkest months with her staff of frost. These figures share more than geography. They represent an archetype as old as humanity itself, the terrible mother, the goddess who creates life and takes it back, the spinning woman who weaves not just wool, but fate itself. Even Krampus, that horned devil who accompanies St. Nicholas on December 5th, shares DNA with Perchta's mythology. Both punish misbehavior. Both emerge from the same Alpine traditions. Both remind us that the Christmas season was never just about sweetness and light. And what of Santa Claus himself? Some scholars argue that Odin's wild hunt, a spectral procession that Perchta herself sometimes led, influenced the development of gift-giving winter figures. The white beard, the nighttime rides, the judgment of who has been naughty or nice. The jolly old man in red may owe more to the belly-slitting goddess than we care to admit. Why did our ancestors need Perchta? Consider the reality of Alpine life 1,000 years ago. Winter was death. The cold killed. Starvation lurked behind every failed harvest, every lazy summer, every task left undone. There was no welfare state, no emergency services, no central heating. Your survival depended entirely on preparation, on spinning enough thread to make clothing and blankets, on preserving enough food, on maintaining discipline when every instinct told you to rest. Perchta was the embodiment of that discipline. She was fear made useful, a supernatural enforcer of the social contract that kept communities alive. Her punishments weren't arbitrary cruelty. They were warnings encoded in story form. Finish your work, observe the traditions, respect the sacred times, or suffer consequences worse than death. The belly-slitting punishment itself carries profound symbolism. To remove someone's innards and replace them with straw and stones is to hollow them out, to transform a person into a scarecrow, an empty husk. The lazy Perchta's mythology suggests have already hollowed themselves. She simply reveals what they've become. There's also the matter of gender. Perchta's laws focused intensely on women's work, spinning, weaving, household cleanliness. Some scholars see this as patriarchal control. Others argue she represented women's power over the domestic sphere, a goddess who took feminine labor seriously enough to judge it divine. Perhaps both are true. Myths rarely offer simple answers. What remains certain is this: Perchta represented accountability. In a world without police or courts or social safety nets, she was the judge who could not be bribed, the enforcer who could not be escaped. She made people work, and in doing so, she kept them alive. Walk through the streets of Salzburg or the valleys of Gastein in early January, and you'll witness something remarkable. The Perchten have returned. Every winter, hundreds of people don elaborate masks weighing up to 30 kilograms each. Some are beautiful beyond imagining, towering headdresses of light that take 500 hours to craft. Others are nightmarish, fanged demons with curved horns and leather hides. They parade through villages with bells and drums, driving out the evil spirits of winter, just as their ancestors did centuries ago. In 2011, the Gasteiner Perchtenlauf was recognized by UNESCO as intangible cultural heritage. These aren't tourist performances. They're living traditions, ancient rituals that have survived Christianity, industrialization, and modernity itself. Some villages still teach children that Perchta walks on 12th night. Some families still prepare the traditional meal of fish and gruel, and in Salzburg, locals say she still wanders through Hohensalzburg Castle in the dead of night, always checking to see who has earned her silver coin and who deserves her blade. Perchta teaches us something uncomfortable about ourselves. We want to believe in gods of pure love. We want deities who forgive everything, demand nothing, and distribute blessings like candy. But our ancestors knew better. They understood that the universe operates on balance, that actions have consequences, that sometimes the most loving thing a god can do is hold you accountable. Perchta was never evil, she was necessary. In a world that increasingly resists all judgment, all consequences, all demands, maybe we've forgotten what that necessity feels like. So tonight, when the wind howls and the winter dark presses close, ask yourself, have you finished your spinning? If this story spoke to you, join the MythicTales community. Subscribe and ring the bell so you never miss our explorations of the forgotten gods and monsters who shaped our world. Next time, we journey north to meet the Cailleach, Scotland's ancient hag of winter who built the mountains with her hammer and ruled the storms for 10,000 years. Until then, keep your fires burning.